All right, welcome back to the COS Business Podcast. Today is a different, unique episode that we're doing. We're going to sit down and have a deep conversation with Marcus.
Wow. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, and also our highlighted sponsor is Redefine Mortgages.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. Redefine Mortgages.
Yeah, did I say that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I can know how to say it right the entire time, and I could have said it 1,000 times, and then when I'm on the spot, I say it wrong, and it POs me off. So
it's kind of cool because Redefine Mortgages just had like a rebrand to like another branch of their business.
It's not a rebrand.
But like it was for me because it was actually a different name and then it rebranded for what it was. It was Get More originally.
Oh, you helped with no, because they already had all that when he came on the show.
So we helped we built the whole website before he did it.
Oh, who's we?
Me and the team, Recon
Marketing? No way, dude.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
And Diddly. Yeah.
Yeah, but now I know they had like the logo already made
for that one. Yes,
yeah, for Redefine Mortgages.
We didn't help with that one.
Okay.
But we wanted to make this episode a little bit different. We wanted to give it a little bit of context for our viewers at home. We wanted to give some updates on what's going on with us, me and Andrew specifically in our businesses, and then just anything else where this conversation really goes. But that's going to be the overarching theme of this episode. A little bit different. We're going to turn the camera back on us and talk a little bit about some updates because a lot has changed, especially over the past 12 months or so.
We're going to get real close and personal.
Wow. Yeah.
It'll be a special episode.
So why don't you go first, man? You want to talk a little bit about Vehement Visuals to start. I'll talk about People's Tiny House. And then, we own a business together, obviously, the COS Business Podcast. We can go into that a little bit as well and maybe some things about Recon. But Recon gets a lot of stage time already. I think that we can talk about those ones, make the focus out of those first three. Sure.
Yeah. I'm down for whatever. But yeah, to talk... I'm down for putting Recon up front. But
there's a lot going on with Recon too. So yeah, we could definitely get into that for sure.
But one thing I'd like to add is that this podcast, it is a business. That's one thing that's unique about us as a podcast is I don't think people frame their podcast as being a business. And it's kind of meta almost as that it's a business podcast that's also a business. We're registered here in Colorado, in the state of Colorado as an actual business. We pay taxes as an actual business. It's a complete business. We do everything that way. And right now, currently, it's my only business, and I'm excited for the future of the podcast. We're even talking about some name changes. I don't know if we want to discuss that, but we're talking about rebranding because of our mission of this podcast is to be bigger than just the Springs, I think.
Yeah, just to transcend, depending on the guest that we want to get is more specifically, I think what you're meaning. Because like if we get guests from all across the country, then kind of transcends the name, essentially, even though we love our hometown, Colorado Springs. It's just something we've been thinking about a lot lately. And and something to...
We thought about it before too. A year ago, we almost rebranded.
We almost rebranded a year ago. We actually had ChatGPT. We actually settled on like one or two names.
Yeah.
That we thought.
And I wouldn't say it's just entirely ChatGPT because I spent over an hour working on the names.
Yeah.
So it's more than just give us a good name because it was like really like fine tuning and chunking it down. But yeah, yesterday I was on a walk and I was thinking about new names and I realized, hold on, before we think about new names, we should figure out the mission first. And I messaged you before I even went on that walk, I had already plotted out on my daily docs because I do daily docs, daily basic journals essentially of like what I want the day to look like, what I plan on having accomplished that day, how I'm feeling, what I'm going through. And in the morning, I wrote down the mission statement for the podcast before even thinking about changing the name again. And so I wrote down the mission statement and I was like, this is what I want the podcast to be about. And then I was going to share that with you. And then we had a few things that popped up where it really kicked in the drive of me wanting to push that even further. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, tell us again about Vehement Visuals because you just told the audience that like this is now your only business, but what's going on or what has gone on with Vehement Visuals.
We're going to take a quick break and thank our sponsors.
Pinnacle Advanced Primary Care. Skip the healthcare hassle with Pinnacle Advanced Primary Care. Direct primary care for a simple monthly fee, putting health first. No insurance needed. Experience personalized care that's as unique as every individual. Visit pinnacleapc.com to learn more. That's pinnacleapc.com.
Franchise Succeed. Grow any business with Franchise Succeed. From development to expansion, turning small businesses into national brands through franchising. Start scaling up with a free consultation at franchisesucceed.com today. That's franchisesucceed.com.
Planet Duct. Breathe easier with Planet Duct, Colorado Springs' premier air duct cleaning service. Powerful vacuum trucks rid homes of allergens and dust. Clear the air by visiting planetduct.com. That's planetduct.com.
Epic Eyewear. Elevate style with Epic Eyewear. Innovative designs meet unmatched quality, ensuring a great look and better vision. Discover your next pair of shades at epiceyewear.com. That's epiceyewear.com, spelled EPOCH, eyewear.com.
And we're running a special discount right now, Andrew. It's COS BP15 for 15% off your
15% off your freaking order at epiceyewear.com. We're wearing the sunglasses right now. If you're watching, listening on the audio, definitely check out the video so you can see and check out how epic they are. EPOCH.
Eyewear.com.
Eyewear.com.
Now we will get back to this episode.
Well, Vehement Visuals, it's, I guess you could say it's probably still in business because if someone hires me, I have to have that go through something. Oh,
yeah,
hopefully
for sure.
Is that good still? Okay. It has to go through something. I mean, maybe it just goes through me. Like maybe it doesn't have to go through the business, but I feel like it has to go through the business. But it's technically still around because I'll probably still put it through the business account. If someone hires me for like video production or
For sure.
or
It's kind of more
even
so on the
consulting
back
stuff.
burner.
It really is, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And maybe I do shut it down, but the cool thing about that is I've shifted to basically doing my business, but for a company. And it's allowing me to really focus and fine tune what I would have done in my business already. Everything that I've actually wanted to do with my business from the start, I'm able to do that with Springs Law Group, which is one of my employers right now. And it just feels amazing because I'm really able to experiment with the ideas that I had without having to pitch someone first, like, and obviously I still have to pitch, like, if I have ideas within the company, it still has to like be approved, but they're giving me full reign to basically, they trust me and they know that I have experience with doing this stuff and that I'm going to lead them in the right direction. And I trust me with that, I think. So the thing is though, before with Vehement Visuals, I could come up with all these ideas and want to implement them with businesses, but that business has to pay, like they have to buy that as a service completely separate without me being like as part, like teamed up with them. Like like Springs Law Group, their business is my business now. And with Vehement Visuals, it was like that too, but like it's a little different when you're an employee, I think. It allows you to really, I think, really lock in with that. Like it's cool. Yeah.
No, it's really
yeah.
cool. Well, one thing that I feel like you're in between with, and I think it's kind of cool, is like, about fractional leadership, fractional C-suite. Have you heard of that before?
Mm-mm.
It's becoming a big thing, especially in marketing. Fractional CMOs. You can be a chief marketing officer for more than one company.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's becoming a thing where someone's like, hey, I'm a fractional CMO of these 3 tech companies.
Yeah.
And I oversee everything on the marketing efforts for all of them. So like I kind of only answered myself or a board or whatever, but like I have full reign to do whatever is best for the company from the marketing standpoint. I head the marketing department. And I think that's pretty interesting as we get more into this world where not everybody's like, I guess, held onto one specific brand. They kind of still are, but it's like maybe like 2 to 3 different types. And I think that's very interesting in so many ways, because it's not just marketing. I've seen fractional CEOs too as well. And so that might be something for you to think about as well as you're kind of making your way through this journey of like focusing really on like 1 or 2 big brands and like freeing yourself up creatively for just those 2 little segues, because you already are probably finding out, like when you give it that much individualized attention, it's like, man, like I wish I was giving this value all along as a videographer for a client, but you just didn't have the time to, or you didn't even have the reins to, you know what I'm saying? So this is something to think about, because whenever you do say it, like you're explaining it, I think you're already kind of in that role.
Yeah, because there's another company that I'm working for with Bring More Value, but they're more like a marketing company as well too. So they have multiple clients, and one of the clients we're working for, Beaver, Leave It to Beaver Services. I'm really excited about that because they've been creating content for them for a year, and the owner of that company had not liked any of the content they were making. I make one piece of content for them, and not only does he like it, it's the only content he's ever shared, like on his personal pages.
That was fire. I saw it. You sent it to me.
Yeah, I was really proud of it. So like even the owner wanted to share it on his page. So it was like, that was awesome. And it was reassuring. Like there's certain things like that are just like, it's like, I know that I can do a good job, but like seeing like those kinds of results is reassuring, like to hit that. Like with Springs Law Group, where we've been doing 2 posts a day on 5 different platforms for 2 weeks now. And I knew it was a proven strategy. Alex Ramosi teaches this strategy. And I knew it was going to work, but to see it actually working is a different thing. It's like, you can know it's going to work, but to actually see it working and getting those results it feels really amazing, you know? And I know it works with this podcast too. Like the clips that we're putting out, we're only putting out 1 clip a day and we were only doing that for like just a couple platforms. Now we've expanded it to LinkedIn and Twitter. And, you know, we were already doing on TikTok, but it kind of, TikTok was like a last thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like a second pod.
So now it's on 6
yeah.
platforms that we're posting daily on for our podcast, which
and that's huge. And so to go back to being able to focus on one brand, not to just take the reins of this part of the conversation, but I'm excited, you know?
I love it. And you're more than a videographer for a lot of people. Like that specific piece of content that you made for Leave It to Beaver is like super, we should post it into this conversation.
If your AC stops working on a hot summer day, here's what to do. First, make sure your thermostat is set to cool and that it's working properly. Sometimes it's just the batteries. Next, check your circuit breaker. A simple trip might be the culprit. If it's tripped, flip it back on. Make sure there's nothing blocking your outdoor unit like leaves or debris. A clear space allows for optimal functioning. Don't forget your air filters. A clogged filter can restrict airflow and cause your system to shut down. If all else fails, it's time to call in the pros. We're here to help you beat the heat. Remember, regular maintenance can prevent these emergencies. Call us today.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool. And
it uses so many techniques.
Well, this spurs a lot of ideas, especially for marketers when they see that, like, oh my gosh, like we can make a whole series of this type of posting.
And we're doing another one. But to go back to what I was thinking a second ago with Springs Law Group, I've been posting on all these platforms. I'm noticing the reels, quote unquote, short videos, vertical short videos. They were performing really well on TikTok, performing really well on Instagram, and performing the best. Actually, I would say TikTok and YouTube are about the same, actually, but performing really well on those 3 platforms. But on LinkedIn, X, and Facebook, they weren't performing that well. So what I've done is each individual video, I took the transcript out of those and I converted them to text-based only. And I was just going to do it on X because X makes more sense for like text-based only like tweets, you know, like instead of just videos. So I basically, there's insights in each one of these vert videos that we do for Springs Law Group. There's like, you know, like tips and educational content for each individual one is unique. So I was able to make a post like a couple sentences and just put on, and so we just started doing this today. I converted 30 of the videos into text only pieces of content, and so we're putting them on X and we're putting them on LinkedIn and we're putting them on Facebook to help boost the performance on those platforms because they weren't really getting the results but we wanted from, and that was all me. Like Chris had no idea I was going to do this today. Like when I told him like, hey, I'm going to do this, and he was like excited to see it, you know. So it's just awesome. Really cool, you know. Just really he's allowing me to step into my role in full, and so is Amanda with Bring More Value.
So I've been really big into building what I call foundational marketing, which is what you're talking about there. So I mean, I incorporate everything from like posting to clips to SEO all within the same bucket of like foundational marketing. And the reason why I call it foundational is because those are like it's like in the long-term bucket of marketing. It's not like the short-term bucket of like advertising where you're like, I do this ad to get this type of return on investment. It's a lot different when you're talking about like posting content. And I think a lot of business owners don't understand the differences. And they think that like, hey, I hire a social media manager or I hired an SEO specialist. Like I want to see sales come in like this week. And I'm like, first of all, like we're in the infinite game of business. I think people to understand. Simon Sinek has a whole book about it, right? Like finite games versus infinite games. Well, business is 24/7, right? It never ends. The loser today could be the winner of tomorrow. Like
Yeah.
whoever's kicking our ass today literally can be out of business 10 years from now if I keep going. And so like I encourage business owners to understand like you always have to have a long-term plan, foundational marketing, right? You always have to have that in place. And not only for that reason, but we're also at a 40-year low for consumer trust in brands, meaning what was working before COVID, where you can make an ad, someone clicks to a page and they opt into something and then they pay for something or whatever it might be all within a couple steps, is not really the case anymore. People actually have to digest like 10 plus hours of content before they actually feel comfortable buying something from somebody.
Yeah.
And that's a huge piece. And again, feeding into that foundational marketing, what we're talking about. So for all those who don't think how like this stuff is important because they can't tie a dollar value to it, they don't understand that like when I was shut down during COVID for my festival, all I was doing was running a like campaign to garner more followings, more likes, and I was posting every single day, even during COVID when I had no business, no money coming through. Because in 2021, I knew I was going to be able to capitalize. We grew from 4,000 followers on Facebook to, I think at the time, like close to 100,000 followers within that 2-year span of no events during COVID. And we really, like, as you know, in 2021 had a huge event. And it was because of that. We were laying the foundation for marketing. So if anybody ever says anything about like, bringing in, all I care about is you bringing dollar values in, it's like, okay, so you're playing a short-term game. I thought we're in this thing for the long haul. And by the way, they both work together. They're both comprehensive. Yeah. And so like me and Brett, we were taught from the very beginning is like, you do SEO because it drives down the cost of everything else, keywords, everything. Even when you're doing paid, you'll actually pay less on the paid side because you have an SEO strategy, because Google's referencing you as a relevant business. And it actually gives you a discount against your competitors and gives you a number one spot.
It's a quite literal discount.
So it's so big, and what you're doing is so awesome, and it's so important for any business to have something in-house or somebody to come in and really give their business the attention that it really deserves, as opposed to just posting stuff. Like to give intentional content.
Intentionality is huge. I'd love to add to that if I may.
Yeah.
So there's with bring more value. She had hired a marketing like some people to create content, and you actually may have experienced this yourself because not with hiring other people specifically, but with putting out content just for content's sake doesn't work.
Right.
Like especially basic AI stuff. Meaning like having Canva just throw a quote on your stuff. Like it's not like you could feel like you're doing something and posting every day and getting this going, but I can literally look at Beaver Services account. I posted one video. They were doing a good job, like when it comes to execution, but their strategy was way off. They were posting every single day since last October or something like that. Like for like 6 months straight, almost essentially. Every single piece of content they put out, 3 views, 4 views, 5 views, and they didn't change. They didn't see that as a problem. They just, we just got to get this. We just got to put the content out for content's sake. I know when I did the AI stuff, when I did the Canva thing to create a bunch of quotes, and I did 30 things for Vehement Visuals specifically on their page, I tested that. Nothing. Like crickets. People, like not only that people didn't want to watch it, is the algorithm knows that kind of content. The algorithm sees that, and the algorithm is smart enough to see real content against like quick, easy generated AI content, and it won't promote it at all. Like, and it's evident. It was evident when I did it with Vehement, and it was evident when I see Beaver Services having done. And I think it was amazing that they were able to be consistent with it every single day. But that's literally insanity. It's expecting different results. Posting every single day.
Right.
Like that's the actual definition of insanity. And I think it's important. Something that I've noticed is you can't just do that. Like it's you have to have intentionality in what you're putting out. Like when with Beaver Services, it's a little different with how I have to create the content. It takes me like 2 to 3 hours just to create one piece of content. And then there's the strategy side behind with Spring's Law Group. We have put together a strategy where we can post twice a day with quality content, authentic content, real content. And it shows too. It's like, and there was a post that a video that Alex Ramosi just released a few days ago. I told you about it. Mm-hmm. It was, I posted 35,000 pieces of content over the last 4 years. Mm-hmm. This is my results. He explains how, because of like what's cool is he has a focus. So he has his focus of wanting to focus on educational content more.
Right.
But outside of that, like for his specific brand, he noticed that the amount of production, like say I wanted to put like 3 hours of like to make extra flashy things or like extra stuff. But if you actually look at his content, because what I'm doing is I'm not just watching his videos, I'm studying each account.
Right.
If you look at his account in the last month, a lot of his videos won't have any music. It'll just be text, no emojis, no B-roll, just him talking and just text. The subtitles, that's important too as well. Also for accessibility, you got to consider people who are deaf. It's always important to do. I learned that when I first started video production, because one of my clients was half deaf and he was like, where's the subtitles at? And this was before you could just transcribe things. Like for me to do subtitles added 2 extra hours of work just to transcribe it, type it out, line it up. Like this was like 4 years ago. Now we can transcribe it and it automatically lines it up. It's fucking beautiful.
Right.
But like I would have literally had to charge them like a couple extra $100 just to add the subtitles. And it felt bad because he was like, what about people that can't hear? And it's like, that's a side note. I always go on side notes, but yeah, outside of that, forgot where I was at.
Alex Ramosi in his video and what he was talking about.
Yeah.
And he also talks about like where he started, which was essentially nothing, like 40 months ago, I think is what he said.
Yeah. And he's talked about that from the beginning too, is
Yes.
like, he's always said that like what's in the content matters more than the flashy edits and the high production. And he noticed that when he had that conversation with Grant Cardone, the scammer. What's it just talking about Edgar over here?
We actually had a comment about that.
Yeah.
We had a comment on YouTube about that, Edgar.
That's good.
We like to take a quick moment and thank our sponsors.
Redefine Mortgages.
Redefine the home buying experience with Redefine Mortgages. Custom solutions, transparent advice, and even seamless process. Start the journey to home ownership at redefinemortgages.com. That's redefinemortgages.com.
Neon Pig Creative. Bring brands to life with Neon Pig Creative. Dazzling designs and strategic marketing make businesses stand out. Spark creativity at neonpigcreative.com. That's neonpigcreative.com. Exponential Impact.
Fuel startup success with Exponential Impact. Mentorship, resources, and support available to amplify impact. Join a community of change makers at exponentialimpact.com.
That's exponentialimpact.com.
Fast Signs.
Fast Signs can help you with all your signage and visual marketing needs. Whether you're starting a new business or just need a signage refresh, let Fast Signs help you. Make your statement. That's fastsigns.com. Cars Helping Charities.
Cars Helping Charities is a turnkey fundraising solution for nonprofits. Cars Helping Charities allows your nonprofit to accept vehicle donations, which are sold, and then the funds go to the organization. CHC is partnering with my nonprofit of choice, Mattersville, to help them raise funds through vehicle donations. Please consider donating your car to support Mattersville. CHC will pick up any car, an old clunker you have sitting in your driveway, or a car you just don't feel like selling anymore. Make sure to visit carshelpingcharities.org. That's carshelpingcharities.org.
Now let's get back to the show. Grant Cardone, he had that conversation. He literally paid him like $50,000. He literally scammed Alex Ramosi.
Of an hour.
Yeah, out of an hour.
$50,000 consultation hour.
Yeah, it was supposed to be 2, but he got 1, but or something like that. Either way, I'm not trying to get into that. I can divulge on that all I want. But besides that, Grant Cardone said, I'm posting this much a day. As soon as he started posting, and it makes sense. You lift more weights, you get more muscles. You start posting more, you get more views. And it's simple as that.
Like, yeah, I've talked to a client about that today, and like a lot of them think I'm insane when I'm just a lot of times when we're talking about posting more with the right strategy. It's
the right strategy, because it goes back to what I was saying. Right. If you put out shit content twice a day, it's not going to do anything. And like it has to have something. And like, so there's something I've learned with posting with this podcast too, is like I understand how to get that hook in the beginning, and also studying Alex Ramosi's book too. Like when it comes to social media content, there's an aspect for each video that there's an element to it where it can like either connect with the audience, make the audience ask a question, like make them more curious, which is asking a question. There's certain things you can do that hooks them, and then you deliver on that punch, and then that's what makes a good content. And like, it could be very simple. Like even with the AI stuff, if you execute it right, it could work. but it still should, like, for each one of those clips, like as simple as some of them may be that I'm posting for Springs Law Group, they still take a minimum of 30 minutes to put together, and it's actual work. And we're doing 2 of them a day, 7 days a week. So I'm in the process for them of getting ahead on that, so I can focus on other things. Like today, I was able to focus on creating the text-based only things for X and all that stuff, because on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, I made all the content I needed for the entire week, so I could focus on more stuff for them. So yeah, it's really cool. I love all this stuff.
That's good. That's really good. What was I going to say? Because there was a couple of things that you had in there that I wanted to poke out, but they lost me at this point.
Sure, yeah.
There was a lot that you just threw at us, but it's okay.
And that's how it is every time we have a podcast together. Like, it feels just like any other, or even if we're having a coffee together.
Well, there's a lot to talk about because we have a lot of things that sync up, and there's a lot that we want to communicate to people who are just starting out. Now I remember what I was going to say is that I had a guy on here. He went to middle school with my sister.
On here?
So he was on Zoom. I had him on a call like at 6 a.m. this morning because he's in Eastern time. So I'm like kind of all over the place because what is it now? 7 o'clock at night. So it was like 13 hours ago, same day that I had a meeting with him. But he is a real estate agent who is based in Charleston, South Carolina. And he has his own team that he's built out. And this guy has built, again, top of funnel stuff, but he's built like the destination website for everything Charleston: events, attractions, restaurants, bars, what to do, parks, what's coming up in the next whatever many years for Charleston. So anything for anybody who's operating in Charleston that's already living there, he already has, like, they go there. Anybody who's looking to move there, he's got that figured out there too. And so when you talk about like top of funnel stuff, he's a real estate agent. He's giving all this value, answering all these questions for all these different people. Well, strategy is he wants to build that thought leadership and authority there.
Yeah.
And corner that. And he's done it in such a beautiful way that they don't even know it's like a real estate agent running this huge, beautiful, amazing website. And I think that's such a beautiful thing. So he's at a point in his business where he has that. He has a thriving team, and now he's linking up arms with other agents who want to join his team and start locations in their areas too. So now he's at the point where he's recruiting agents to start their own teams. So he's like a young Keller Williams type of thing before it was Keller Williams. And it's so cool to see that, because I mean, who would think to start something like that, unless you have a marketing mind like you and I, right? To be like, we're going to be the one-stop shop for everything going on in this city, no matter what it is. And we might not even have that here in the spring. I mean, we have a lot of great pages and websites to go to, like Visit Colorado Springs, Peak Radar. There's a lot of good ones, but there's not one that's like, that is the site that you go to for everything and anything going on in Colorado Springs. And I think that's what a brilliant approach. What a top of funnel approach that, like, when you're doing your content, it's so important, you know, for you to capture all those different people's, all those different types of buckets. I've been watching some of Chris's shorts, and like, it's talking about like, do you call the cops right after you get in an accident? Why would I do that? I don't want to, like, the cops involved. It's like, actually, you do. Yeah. This is why. By the way, I'm
very good reasons too. Yeah,
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. After editing all that content, I'm going to know I basically probably could be my own personal injury.
Yeah.
But to give a local example of exactly what you're talking about, I think Ryan Van Ornum has done that well with that Facebook page. Yeah. He had the Colorado Springs activities and whatever it was. Yeah. But I think he actually sold it to someone else because someone just approved a post that I posted 3 years ago on that.
And it wasn't him?
It wasn't him, but he liked it. He liked that post. And then I found out when I commented on it that Sarah Beth Grant, Sarah, I don't know. But yeah, I've actually had a coffee meeting with her before. So
3 first names.
Yeah.
Never a good thing.
But yes, she took it over because when I said, I was like, because in that post, it was my 100th episode of me. And I literally sent it to that page like 3 years ago. And I said, 100th episode, blah, 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 excited for 100 more. Well, guess what? She approved the post and we've already had 100 more. And I was like, this feels wrong. Like, so I had to comment.
Well over 100 more.
Yeah, well over 100 more. So I had to comment on it. I was like, I don't know about that, but we've had 100 more and we're excited for 100 more. And she was like, oh, I just approved it, blah, blah, blah. And then I seen, because Ryan Van Ornum liked it, I do know that that was one of his strategies. That's one of the strategies. That's the reason why this podcast exists, actually, because I had a similar thought, you know, that like for business specifically he's a real estate agent. So his clients are literal everyday people.
Right.
I was a videographer for business marketing. So my clients were business people. So it's like, how can I be that central hub for that? So,
Right.
yeah.
But I think it's really hard for people to play in that game because so many people are, again, so that scarcity mindset of like, I need to get, and again, it makes sense. Like when you're first starting out on your own, guys, by all means, like you got to make the dollars to pay the bills. And if you have a family, like you have to do what you have to do to take care of business.
Mm-hmm.
But at a certain point, as you learn how to scale and delegate and do those different things to building a team and scaling a business, you have to look in the long term of like what you're trying to do with the business. I mean, whether it's actually exiting it with someone acquiring it, or if you're going to keep this thing going for the long haul,
Mm-hmm.
I would hope, then you got to look at those long-term strategies. And I feel like there's still that, I feel like it's changing a lot. I feel like there's starting to be a better connotation of like, because at first people are like, what's social media? Really, like a lot of the businesses I talk to, I would say still about 30% of them don't know why social media is important, you know? And so like a lot of my job as a marketer is actually educating why it's so damn vital to build a relationship, know, like, and trust with folks in your brand.
On all the platforms.
On all the platforms. And so it's so important. And so I love when you tell me about all these different things. And that's why, speaking of like People's Tiny House Festival, that I've kept the platforms somewhat active, because I feel like that's the most valuable part of the festival. Yes, we make a lot of money one weekend out of the year. I chose not to do one this year and take a break. Maybe forever, maybe not. Who knows? That's actually not that important to me. What's important to me right now is figuring out what I'm going to do with the platform that I have.
Yeah.
Because it is a giant platform where people are still reaching out every day saying, hey, something just got passed legally for tiny houses in Fresno, California. Can we post it or share it on your page? Or, hey, like, can we get somebody out here? I would really love to do a tour of my tiny house. And do you know anybody who could do a video tour or whatever it might be, right? It's just whatever it might be. It's more than just what people might think. It's 133,000 followers. That's pretty damn active all the dang time. And so again, you got to learn how to leverage, and you also got to understand what Hermosi talks about the most, which actually got him so pissed enough to actually go on social media, which is leveraging your personal brand. When he was talking about, was it Kendall Kardashian or one of the Kardashians that he saw, he's like, how the hell is this girl who probably doesn't know,
It was The Rock. It was the Kardashian.
Rock.
It was Mr. Beast. It was a handful of them.
And that's a big piece to it. That's why podcasts are so important for personal brands, right? Like they recognize our faces from this podcast. And one thing that's super important about this podcast for us is like, I mean, there's a lot of prominence that we've done, but there's also a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that we put in it. I mean, 230 something episodes in.
33 is this one.
That's a ton of episodes, I don't even know anybody else in the Springs who's above 150 episodes.
Try to name another person.
Or 100 episodes.
It's hard to get past the 15th episode. We've talked about this before.
Whatever the stat is, right?
Yeah. And I was about to tell you, actually, I think that is front and center. So let's put them on this side.
Oh, yeah, you're right. For sure.
I was thinking, like, while you're talking, this is my problem is
ADD,
well,
ADHD.
Well, that too, but also just thinking of like the shots all the time too. And like, I was like, okay, I'm thinking of that, but I'm also listening. So how do I not just, cause I could have just jumped on the whim and been like, why in the middle you were talking?
I would just grab it and put it that way.
But yeah, I have to battle with that all the time. Cause in my mind, like the whole time you're talking, I'm like, cup. as soon as I noticed it though, because I didn't notice it until about like a few minutes ago. But as soon as I notice it, it's all I can think about. But I'm listening to you as well too. But every like few seconds, cup. That's going on in my mind.
Right.
But yeah. And see, I didn't even have to go on that tangent. I could have just pushed it aside and not decided to explain what happened. But I did it anyways. Okay. So balancing. What were you saying?
All right. Well, this freaking guy, Edgar already knows how he is. He's like texting. But I think it's really important. I think that one thing I wanted to talk about too is the importance of who you put on your team for any business that you do. I've been blessed to have a lot of great teams I've worked with or even like led in the past. But I definitely know I've garnered so much knowledge on relationships are very fleeting in the world of business. And it's just one of those things where you have to kind of just accept that's just the nature of the game. And I think it's very challenging. Yes. Business is a lot like life, where who is your closest confidants and colleagues are not always going to be there. And that's actually part of the process. And I forgot who said it last week. I was listening to something, but someone was saying like, if you have the same team with you from like 0 to like 100 million, something either like you're the luckiest person in the world or something is wrong or off or something. Cause that's not likely, because usually you'll scale past the skill sets or even just the mentalities and perspectives of the team that you start with. And that's very, very challenging, very, very hard. I've always been a very big dreamer. So I've always thought like, this is where I'm going to be. This is where I'm going to drive or whatever it might be. Like for me, materialistic things aren't the most important thing, but I've always had that visualization of like where I'm going to be in my life. And I think it's very important to, especially when you align partnerships, we're in a partnership with this, you have to have a vision that you paint together. We were talking about mission statements and stuff like that. It's the most important thing because it literally is the roadmap to get there. Because we can see this thing now, we can backwards engineer. Okay, how do we get there?
And make sure we're on the same page too. Yeah.
Exactly. You know, like in the very beginning of our partnership, maybe one of us did think that it was only going to be the COS Business Podcast, and the other one was thinking something else. You know, or maybe those are the types of things you have to really be on the same page with, and especially in partnerships. They say the only thing that sinks ships is partnerships.
Well, things change too all the time too as well. So you have to keep changing as well and adapting. That's the thing, is being flexible on the details is being able to be flexible. So,
right.
So yeah, we could both starting out, you know, could have had the same vision, but then maybe over time things change. And so we got to just make sure we're realigned, or, you know, make sure we're on the same page again.
Right.
You know?
Well, and people change too. So it's
people change too. Yeah.
It's like one of those hard things to navigate. And
I'm a woman. I'm just kidding.
I think some of the hardest things I've gone through with past partners, not you, of course, but like past partners, is like just the skill set scaling out to like no longer needing that person as a partner. Like that's definitely been the case with me in the past, where I'm like, okay, well, like I love this person and we got into a certain place, but like they're actually just content with being here, or they just don't have an aspiration to grow in those new skill sets, because no one starts amazing and like multi-millionaire unless you've been there before, right? Once you get there, you can get there very quickly always, right? But you have to go through a very painful stage to get to the next levels. And that is something you have to be willing to do. And not everybody's willing to do that. That's fine. That's completely fine. But like, you also got to be in line with people who are willing to go through those types of fire and flames with you, or you're going to be held back too.
And it doesn't matter how great that person is, because
yes,
OpenAI started with Elon Musk. They're not with Elon Musk anymore.
Right.
So it's like they had one of the best persons you could have.
Highly skilled people ever, right?
Yeah. And so it's like, and it was a mission misalignment kind of thing that happened, and it kind of just didn't work out, you know? And then, you know, like Tesla even didn't start with Elon, and then now he's made it like, and when I say he, obviously there's a lot of people that came involved, but Elon is a special case because without him, it wouldn't have done what it has done.
Well, his ambition trumps logic.
Yeah.
So it's completely, I mean, he's one of those people that's going to go down in history that will be known years after we all die, you know?
He's the Benjamin Franklin of our time, is how I've
Yeah, for sure.
In so many aspects, actually. Like electricity, everything, it's crazy.
And it's great that he's very polarizing, especially right now. I think that actually makes it even better for him that he's so polarizing right now. Yeah, no, and that's true. And again, like I feel like for me, like I don't hold a lot of those things like hurtful in my heart ever. And like I maybe for a certain point, but like looking back now, like old partnerships I have, like I'm not mad or anything like that. It's just like it is what it is, and you respect those people from afar. You know,
I've always analogized, I don't even know if that's the right word, business with life. In so many aspects, like when it comes to like doing business, not with business and personal life is what I mean. Cause it's like the same thing with ex-girlfriends though, right?
Yeah.
Like, unless you're bitter about all your ex-girlfriends and you could be bitter about all your ex-business partners too. Same token, you know, like, but yeah, there's a point usually in most people's life where their ex-girlfriends, there's no hate or resentment at all. It's just things didn't work out, you know, like things are different. And I think it's the same way probably with business partnerships. You could probably attest to that more than I could though.
It's a mindset, like you said. Like I think some people will go a certain way, some people won't. But like for me, in my own like health's sake, I have to like be like, okay, whatever happened, forgive the situation. I accepted that it happened, and like there were great qualities of those people. That's why I worked with them in the first place. Yeah, and they're probably still there in those people in a lot of ways. So cool. we're going different directions. That's fine. And so that's always been really good for me. You know, I've learned so much over the years. Like we were talking about before this, I had 2 6-figure companies operating at the same time. One that was considerably more operating costs than the other for such a long time. Very, very stressful to do. And I think my first time ever doing that, having both of them, I was 29 or just hitting 30. One of the two. I think it was 29. And that was a big moniker for me for a long time, a big accolade for me for a long, long time of having that. But like you
having both or what?
Yeah, having just 2 different ones, you know, and I thought that was really great. But I would say since September of last year, really just focused on either my one main business and how I can vertically integrate like the podcast, because it is its own business as well, into like more so the recon stuff. And it's worked beautifully. It's really helped me a ton. Like I would say
Which I would say that's probably been the reason why you got on in the first place, right?
Was the podcast and recon or what?
Yeah, well, the podcast to help, you know, grow your to help bring more clients to recon, to you.
Yeah, again, it's a foundational build, right? I keep saying foundational marketing. It's just like a big push for personal brand and getting my voice out there. Everybody wants a mic. Everybody wants to be recognized. I feel like I've had a lot to say for quite some time.
This guy.
Yeah, except for Edgar. He has a lot to say when the cameras aren't on, the mics aren't hot. But no, I've always had like that. Always wanted to give wisdom, because I know, and I thank goodness that why I know this is because when I was the youngest person in the room, I always had the oldest people take me under their wing, and like I guess they saw something in them, or something of them in me, and I'm the same way. That's why I see like people younger than me that I know are working their ass off. Like it makes me drawn to them, especially when I see them really fighting for something like an Edgar or you or whatever it might be. You're only a year younger, but like I love that stuff, and I feel like I have to like big brother that situation. Sometimes it comes off bad or whatever, but like I love like sharing in the wisdoms and hardships I gone through. That's why I don't regret them. I don't regret them at all, because then I can share them with other people and hopefully don't go through the same. They're all going to go through hard things, but like hopefully they can at least, you know, skip that pothole, if you will. And I think it's very important. But like, man, there's been so much that's gone on in like the past year, just in general. And the only thing I can say is like, you know, you find out in business, in your relationships, in life, whatever you want to call it, it's all life, right? Like you have seasons of your life where those people in your corner are those people in your corner. And man, you're so blessed to have those people in your corner, but you never know. It could be something different 5 years later, but you just respect the time for what it is and love it for what it is. And that's why I've always thought about things in life, because a lot of the friends I had when I first started the festival, I would say 99% of them are no longer in my life, which is crazy to think about like 3 years ago when you and I first started to get together. But like I respected that time because they were there in a certain part of my life where things were vulnerable in situations, and like they helped me in that situation. So there's always gonna be a little bit of love there for those people too. And then so the same thing happens in this. I kind of look in life in the lens of like, I'm just so happy to just be in the moment with the people I have, the close friends I have and love and care about, will do anything for. But I'm not naive to think that it's always gonna be this way, you know? Yeah. And so I love that about this. Like I love that me and Danielle are together, but we don't have kids yet. We're not necessarily married yet, but we have friends, most of which are single, and we all get to hang out and just enjoy life being in our early 30s, late 20s or whatever, and just enjoy this part of our lives. Because I know when people have kids that, you know, they could probably gotta be around other people who have kids most likely or whatever. Life's fleeting. You never know what can happen.
Or around no one because you're too busy worried about your kids.
Yeah. Or just never sleeping, you know? And so I don't know. I think that that I'm at that phase of my life where I've kind of been able to look back a little bit and to see the different versions of me that have adapted over time. I've actively worked in the past year to not just be the tiny house guy anymore. I feel like that's a chapter of me that's turning the page a little bit, which is completely fine. Like Elon's had multiple different types of identities over the years. Speaking of Elon Musk, right? Yeah. I mean, he was the Tesla guy or the SpaceX guy or whatever you want. So to some people, he's the X guy or whatever. Joe Rogan, the Fear Factor guy for Joe Rogan, the UFC guy.
Yeah, some people will like to box you in, but we do multiple things. Gary Vee talks about that a lot too. It's like it's and not or. Right. I think that's his exact phrase, because a lot of people think or, but it can be and that's huge. And like that may seem very simple, but the most simple things are the best, I think, because if you can explain it simply, then it it shows you're not only your understanding, but it allows other people to understand it better too. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very important to understand that about yourself, especially if you've struggle with like identity issues or like who you are, or who you like box yourself in. Like to me, you've never just been a videographer.
And
like,
I don't want to be, but I tried to box myself into that. I was like, as soon as you said that, I was literally already thinking it. It's like,
yeah,
because I was editing my LinkedIn page today, and like, I'm like, I don't think I've ever actually wanted to be boxed in as a videographer, but I felt it was necessary for me to get the right clients. So I did what I had to do. It's kind of my thinking.
Yeah, that's how I was too. Like I actually, which is funny, I kind of went backwards. I've actually recently put marketer on my LinkedIn, which is funny because I've never recognized myself as a marketer. Actually, it's always been like an entrepreneur.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and for a
I thought
good
you
reason.
always have though. That's
I mean the big thing.
Because a festival guy, but the festival guy only works because you're a marketer.
Because I'm a marketer. But
your mom was a marketer, so it's like I've always thought this. So that's surprising.
It's always been entrepreneur, because if I have a conversation with somebody, yeah, a lot of it has to do with marketing, but a lot of it has to do with just like business ownership and like people and scaling and hiring and who you bring by your side. Like that's the stuff I really care about, is like scaling something and building something special. And so marketing is a big passion of mine, but the biggest passion is obviously just creating something. It's always
I've always
been
thought
that.
it was marketing.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And again, like this.
So maybe you just didn't believe it enough.
The chapters have always kind of, I mean, to be honest with you, man, like every business that I've been in, I have never just done the marketing for, right? I mean, obviously with the Tiny House Festival, I did everything, but like even with Recon, I do all the admin, all the business stuff, all the taxes.
Which is entrepreneur stuff, yeah.
Which entrepreneurial stuff, or like the team, like leading a team, or I like recruiting. I love I never look at how but who all the time, all the damn time. Like, because
You never do what?
I always look at who, not how, because for me, my mind is always at like full capacity because I'm having so many conversations with so many people all the dang time. We have 44 clients right now I talk to every single day, and then I have all these sales calls I'm doing. So I'm like, I'm burned out as far
44 clients?
Yeah. So like we have a lot of different things going on, and that's just one business, right? So then we have the podcast and the sponsors and stuff like that. Don't talk to them all the time, but like, as you know, like I forget a lot of stuff now because I'm just talking to so many damn people. So like for me, I would say past 10 years, even before all that, it's always been about like who rather than how. Because one, I'm interested in knowing people who do things at a very high level. So it's always the who. So like I was talking about high level, go high level. We have automated specialist who does high level for us now, that he's taught me so much. I'm like, man, that would have taken me 6 months of like my head down trying to learn it all by myself. And now I have you, and you taught me some of these things, and I can incorporate you into our businesses. So like Redefine Mortgages, they have a guy named Aaron who's worked with them because I met him 3 months before Bill wanted that project being done, and I was already working with him with high level and so on and so forth. And then like we're building an app because I have Jay from Web Design Shop who's working with that, and the whole, it's like I always like meeting people and then like figuring out how we can work together. I like strategic partnerships big time. Always have, and I've never really wanted to be, I'm a big competitor. I'm very competitive, but I've never wanted to, I've always wanted to work with my competition, even other marketing agencies. I love how they tick too. I would welcome any marketing agency to talk and get coffee with me, and I'd tell them the softwares I use. I don't care. What is that going to do? Like, okay, so you start using it too. Cool. Are you going to know how to use it? The ability I do, maybe not. It doesn't matter to me. I like thought sharing. I really do, because it makes us all better. And you'll find oftentimes that the other agencies, like they get stuck in their ways and then they do the same thing over and over, which makes a whole lot of sense. But like for me, I've always wanted a level of R&D. It's not that I have shiny object syndrome. It's just that you have to have a healthy level of adaptation to anything you do.
Yeah.
Or you become Kodak in the late 90s, or Blockbuster. If you don't adapt, you die, man. So like you have to have that level of always seeking new things and always finding the person who's put in their 10,000 hours or close to it to get that information. So that's my passion and stuff. It's the who, not the how for me.
And that makes sense too. I think that's one reason why when we first met, there was one reason why I think you connected with me a little bit, because I've always been like, okay, Snapchat's doing this, like no one thinks about Snapchat, even though they're bigger than LinkedIn and X combined. It's crazy currently today. And I still don't use Snapchat in my strategy for any of my marketing that I do for any of my clients, and like, I don't know how. The Snapchat is just such And like maybe it's worth the investment of thinking about just because there's 250 million or 400 million.
It's taking over text.
Yeah.
For young people. So
for young people, yeah. It's a lot of Gen Z, but a lot of young millennials too.
Yeah. So Danielle's niece, Christina, who I love to death, she only uses Snapchat. So like when we're doing the festival last year.
In our early 20s, we
yes,
it was a big millennial.
That's when it first came out.
It's always been a kid guy or a kid platform, like a younger platform.
Hey, that's pretty cool if you think about it. Yeah, and don't forget the facial recognition technology that it had in the very beginning. I think it was before anybody.
Well, the filter stuff, like they're still on the top of the game. If you go into Snapchat right now, their filters are fucking phenomenal. Like if you thought they were good a few years ago, like they're really good.
Yeah, I haven't used it in many years now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is a sleeper. We actually pulled usages off of all of them, like monthly usages. No, it was daily usages off of them. I think it was. And like I think Facebook was like 2.9 billion.
Yeah.
And then Instagram was like 2.5 billion. And then like you were saying, like LinkedIn, like it's obviously much smaller than we're pulling.
You're talking about total users, not daily active users.
Yeah. Total users, total active users is what I was pulling.
Yeah. But not daily active.
No, not daily active. That would be awesome though. If it was that much all the time, that'd be like the whole world all the time.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
But yeah, it was just like crazy. And then like the whole Snapchat thing, like you were talking about before, it's just insane to think.
And then email is bigger than all of them. People don't even think about it.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy.
Oh yeah.
Well, email and Facebook are pretty neck and neck. But they're about the only two, like at the level of like how many Americans check their X, not X, because you can't use that anymore because of Twitter. But I meant X as an algebra, check their fill in the blank.
Right.
Fucking Elon ruined it. You can't say fill in the X anymore.
That's a little punk. Have you ever found that when you are working with a business, and you probably already find this right now, but like you prefer to work with like an established business with like an allocated budget that like already has an idea and has already been successful? Is that like, would you say that's your ideal? I know you don't really say clients anymore, but because for me, like when I heard about what you're doing now, it reminded me of like when we were starting Recon. I'm like, man, I hate the people who are like, they need next month to get by and then they hire me to help them with their marketing. It's like, so you're hiring me, you're how much are you fronting this money for me to bring in money for next month? Like that just sounds like a losing strategy, And so like I've been in so many situations like that, even at the agency I worked at, like where I'm like, man, like you're putting a whole lot of pressure on me to like do all this stuff for you when you don't have anything established. And guess what? I'm probably going to help you establish that stuff. And so that's why I probably fell in love with business, because even at the agency I was at, I was oftentimes being like, okay, so like how are you scaling? Are you in QuickBooks? Are you setting these things up? Like, it's the same thing as any entrepreneur would know, right? But I don't know. For me, like it's always been most important to like, for my business, for Recon, to work with established businesses that have been through the ringer, who understand marketing is testing at the end of the day, and that you do one strategy. Oh, Facebook doesn't work for me because I did this strategy. Well, Facebook has a hell of a lot of objectives and different types of campaigns. There's so much you can do with Facebook. So I doubt it when people say Facebook doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
I doubt that very seriously,
Yeah.
And so like, again, finite gaming, like everything's testing. And if someone's not willing to do that, then like, I can't really work with them, because that's the level I want to be at, where I'm like, hey, I'm running 20 campaigns to test a new initiative on something.
Yeah. And that's what I dreamed of being at from the beginning, but it was never easy for me to find those types of clients. And it's a frustrating pain point too, is because there's a lot of people that need help, but they can't afford it.
Right.
And it's just like, it's a hard dichotomy, but to have, for me as the person who provides the service, to have income coming in where I don't have to feel like I need to get that deal just to survive is so amazing. And I may have, and for the other person, it may not be amazing because they were expecting to pay $200-300 for a service that I want to charge minimum $1,000 for. And then they think I'm an asshole because I'm charging them more than what they were expecting. And they think I'm overpriced, or I'm like, or all this stuff. Yesterday, someone reached out to me about wanting to set up an in-studio, set up a studio in their house. And I literally just charged Levi from High Five X amount. And it was a decent amount, an amount that made me feel so happy. It made me feel good. It made me feel like
valued.
valued, and it was awesome, and Levi was more than happy to pay for it. And I gave this person just a slight discount by like $100 or $2 of what, and I knew it was going to be more than what they could afford because they tried to hire me a couple years ago. But because I have a job where I have income coming in, it was no sweat off my back to. I was actually going to say half. I was going to say half because I knew this was an individual person, wasn't a business like Levi. Like I was going to base it off of where they were at instead of what I feel like I should be paid. And I was going to do that, but then I was like, no, I was like, the number I wanted to say at first was still, I felt like too high. But then I was like, I'm going to say even higher. And it was still less than what I charged Levi. It was just insane. And then didn't even respond back to me. I was like, I knew you weren't going to do that. So I don't know why I even wasted my time. Like,
what's the big thing about in entrepreneurship too is just like pushing so many no's. We used to call that in the MLM
pushing
world
the nose,
is pushing no's.
And then Alex Ramosi with on top of pushing the nose. And I felt good about saying that price because of what Alex Ramosi said about if you don't get a jaw drop, then you didn't say a high enough price.
Right.
And especially like, and I tried to spell it out too in the message that I wanted to explain to her the service that I was doing. It's like, we're going to consult with you, figure out your budget. I'm going to build the items that you need. I'm going to do this. And I even like, and then I'm going to help you set up. I'm not just going to help you set up. I'm going to do it the right way. Do it the actual full service way.
Right.
And then at the end of that message too, like I said, also, I will give you free tech advice anytime you need in the future. Like just threw that in on top.
That's awesome.
So it's like if you have any questions, like you're trying to film a video or whatever, and like you have any questions, just reach out to me and I will get back to you. Like you have that as part of the service. There's no extra charge for life, because why not?
Right.
It's still, I don't want to say
you can't take it too much to heart though, because it's just like people, especially with your prices. I think your prices are still damn good. I really do.
Yeah.
I think if they don't take on your prices, they're just not serious on what they're trying to do, and the investment in your time, either serious in respecting your time or serious in like their business and investing that as like those video assets or whatever assets you're making for them.
And it's also overtime for me too at this point because
Right.
I have full-time jobs. So it's like, it has to be more.
Right. Yeah, it's very important, man. It's very important for the podcast. I know we talked about rebranding, different things. We have done a lot in the past 6 months here. We've gotten a new space. We've gotten some amazing, great sponsors. We have a whole lot we can do with that in the future with like some of our great sponsors, even have a party here for them or something like that. We could do some really
I'd
cool
love to do
things
that,
to honor these people who have supported us. The best thing about this town that I love, one, it's my hometown. It's where my grandfather passed away. It's where my mom lives. Those are the closest family members I have, along with my sister and niece and nephews, is that it is a very community-driven town. If you want to make something of yourself, it doesn't take very long for you if you just put yourself out there here, and you will be accepted, and people will embrace you here. And that's a huge thing. And just like Andrew, he moved here and he put himself out there way the hell outside his comfort zone. And he was embraced very quickly on doing this podcast. And that's something that's very special to us. And the community is very special to us. And so like, it's what has really built the foundation. Again, we keep talking about foundation, but 233 episodes is a hell of a damn foundation for this show. I mean, that's one hell of an accomplishment. And we can pat ourselves on the back for one hell of a milestone to have done that. And it is not easy. It's
not at all.
Nothing is as easy as it looks, like ever. And just to give our viewers at home, like we said, while this is nice, Andrew has to literally pack all this up, drive it all the way over here, 30, 40 minutes, unpack all of it, set all of it up, get done with the episode, film the whole episode, make sure everything's working. Edgar's equipment as well. Combine all of our equipment, be here early, be here, make sure people get coffees or whoever's in place to help out with whatever.
Organize all the meetings.
Did
you take the reins on that?
Yeah, well, I'm just talking about this production for now, but like, and then pack it all up and then go all the way home. And like, we do that every single week. And so for a lot of our viewers, like there's a lot of work just beyond just the normal things that you see. This is a business. So we have sponsors. We got to maintain their expectations. We're getting new active sponsors. We're booking guests. We have to make sure all the guests are informed. Like there's a lot to
if
any
people
business.
cancel, we have to figure out how to fill that spot.
Right.
If people cancel last minute, it makes it even harder.
Yes. And so for anybody listening at home, like it's not only just pushing no's, but it's also sometimes like having people leave you out or ghost you or whatever it might be. That's just part of the game. And
My camera just shut off.
Is it?
I was about to say it's probably about to shut off too. But
Gotcha. Should we wrap it up then? Or
we have the wide angle. So
Okay.
not to cut you off, finish what you're saying.
well, we were almost at about an hour anyways. But no, I think that's good, man. So we definitely got to pat ourselves on the back. We've definitely been through some crazy stuff, but we're going, I would arguably say, stronger than we have ever. And that's awesome, you know? And it's,
Me too, yeah. We're not only stronger than we have ever, we're ramping up as well too.
yeah, exactly.
On top of more work than ever. And I've been cussing a little extra. Don't look at the beer and then say that. It's probably why, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to Lance. We're gonna get him on the show.
cool.
So he actually agreed to being on. So if we can just book it out like a couple, if you want to reach out to him.
Cool.
Okay.
That's my boy.
Oh, we'll just finish it up. So go ahead and close it up.
Edgar, you want to come on the show or what? Okay.
We'll just use the wide angle for this last part for me if I say anything like right now.
No, man. It's just kudos to you. This has been amazing.
Kudos to you, bro. Like it wouldn't like I said before, and your toast off for your birthday in January.
Yeah.
I don't think the show would be still around if it wasn't for you.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, we put a lot of hard work into this thing. And I'm actually happy that I don't have a big festival that I'm planning this year. I definitely think it's been a great year to focus on all this stuff. It makes me super happy to have something that my hometown can cherish and love. And if they don't know about us yet, if there's some people who don't, you're definitely going to, because we're doing a lot of effort, especially in the past few months, to make sure that this is the show to be on for anybody. And we're not going to stop until we are at the very, very top of all media here in the Springs.
Not just the Springs.
Yeah.
So I want us to be the top source of business, of real business information, authentic conversations, original content on top of that. Like not just a channel that cuts up other people's business podcasts and puts it on theirs. Because there's a lot of those channels.
Yeah, for sure.
Motivational Hub or whatever it is. You know, you've seen some of those ones where it's just, we are producing our own original content with our own, and we're putting that out there. But to finalize this, and last thing I'm going to say is, like, there's been so many times, to add to what I was saying, is like, there's been a handful of times where this is like any other business. Like, there's been a handful of times where I wanted to quit, but we still kept pushing forward. And that's what business is all about, is like pushing through those hard times. And we've done that. And I don't think we're at one of those hard times right now, but earlier this year I was, and you kind of just kept it going, to be honest. Without that, it would have died. And there's probably other times too, vice versa, you know. I don't know. So yeah. We
gotta work off each other. We all bring some things to the table that the other doesn't. And which is why it's worked for so long. And it's something special. And so I agree, man. It's been good. This has been a great episode, man. Do you want to close this out?
Yeah. I have to pee. Edgar, want to close this out? Why not, dude? Go ahead, close this out. Come on, do it.
One of these days, our guest will meet Edgar Venzer. Look him up. EV.
The cat episode.
.auto.
Oh,
Yep.
Not the cat episode. That was just a random guy, actually. A random cat. All right. Adios. Just kidding. All right. So this has been the COS Business Podcast. Like we said at the beginning, our highlighted sponsor is Redefine Mortgages, and everything else. We love you guys, and see you guys on the next episode.
Boom.